Hi everyone, Katie Vital Spot here again to give you another episode on the Vital Spot. And today we're outside for a little class trip to talk a little bit about humans impact the environment, or how the environment impacts humans. And the reason I'm doing this today, it's a real kind of quick, brief topic that the Regents exam in the state of New York loves to cover on their Regencies. And I always get asked, what do I think essays will be, thematic or DBQs, and this is one of the best chances on the Regents exams that you're going to get, something to do with geography and its impact with humans. And the first thing we need to think about when we think of geography, we need to think about what the heck that means. And we're going to think about geographic landforms like rivers, mountains, lakes, the weather, whether there's kind of extreme weathers that may be affected. Is it a desert? Is it a rainforest? And all of those things are the geography we're going to think about. Is it hot? Is it cold? And how do those things impact the humans around them? And so they usually will ask you to give some examples in history of times that the geography of the land has impacted the humans that it's surrounding. And some of my favorite ones to discuss are rivers, because first of all, civilization in world history, they develop around rivers, like the Nile. Okay, so the Nile is a region in Egypt, and that river is the lifeblood of that nation. The Egyptian civilization would not have existed if not for the Nile River. It gave them transportation, it gave them food, it gave them irrigation, the ability to pipe water from one direction to another so they could farm with it. So if the river did not exist, the Egyptian civilization would not exist. So that's an impact the river had on the people. The impact the people had on that river was that they did use it for irrigation. They built extra canals and piped it to where they needed it to go. So that's an impact that humans have on the Nile River. And that's just one out of millions of examples of rivers. Rivers are a great one for this question. One of my other ones is mountains to talk about. And that's actually why I'm out here in my yard, is to kind of show you an example of one of them. So let's take a second here. I'm going to flip us around. Nope, I'm going to do this. So here's my yard, and it's a hill, okay? And if I was to try to grow something on my yard, it's really challenging, because that's all it's going to go away because I'm going down a hill. And this is just a hill, and I'm, in the example we're giving, we're actually going to talk about mountains. This is just a little hill, but I've solved this using my knowledge of history. We're going to take a walk over here, and we're going to see how I solved my problem of living on a hill, and that's to build a terrace. And what this terrace does, what this terrace does is it allows me to grow things in what would normally be a hilled area. So you build up, and in this case I build that rock wall, and then I backfilled it with wood chips, and now I can grow plants on it and have a nice little patio to sit on. But the best example for this is the ancient Incas in South America, and in modern day countries of Peru and Ecuador and Argentina. They took the mountains that they were living on, like Machu Picchu. Look that one up. That's a great photo to look at. They used the mountain that they lived on to carve into it, to build these steps or terraces, so that they had flat land that they could grow on, because that's what you need to be able to actually grow something, is you need flat land. So there's an impact geography had. The mountain meant that the humans had a hard time growing crops. So the humans' impact was to terrace it out, to make it flat. They carve into the mountain, flatten it out. Now they can plant things like potatoes. They can plant there. The other group of people that used terrace farming very well was the Chinese, and they created rice paddies on terraces in the mountains, which was a brilliant idea. It gives you a lot more space. So those are two of my favorite examples: rivers and mountains as different forms of geography that impact humans and their world. But there are so many others. One of the great ones is, let's think of islands. like Japan. When Japan is an island and has and will always be an island, it's not going to be something else. And an island, of course, is a body of land surrounded by water on all sides. But that meant that they're very isolated. The Japanese, although they do finally make good contact with the Chinese, were isolated for a very long time, which is why they have Shinto religion, which is different than the mainland religion of China, which did come to them. They do get Buddhism coming into Japan, but it came much later because they were so isolated. So the island allowed them to be isolated. So the geography impacted that civilization by their isolation. It also impacted what they did for a living. The Japanese are amazing seamen. They fish. They navigate well. Okay, same thing with England. England is an island too. They had the strongest navy in the world for the longest length of time because they were a small island nation. So they were so used to being surrounded by water. Seawater, different than fresh water, right? So that's another great example is an island. Islands surrounded by water on all sides. Isolation, eating a lot of fish, being great fishermen, their shipping industry. That's another great example. And there's tons more. Maybe a fun idea if we all post some comments below on what you guys think would be a really great way to show humans impacting their environment. Ooh, another one we can get a little more modern. I just thought of one. I have to share it. Is any environmental movements. So you can go into pollution. That's on a global level. So you're not going to be able to necessarily give the same kind of example like you can with the Incas using terrace farming, but absolutely in our own modern world, we're using cars and trucks and farm animals to pollute our air and create a whole different world for us to live in now. So like I said, I wanted to keep this real short. I'm at about 7 minutes now. So we're going to get going, but be aware that's a big topic for the Regents exam, how humans impact geography or how geography impacts humans, something along those lines. So you want to think a lot about your geographic features to begin with: mountains, rivers, lakes, streams, islands, peninsulas, anything of that nature to begin with, and then think about how would that life impact those people. All right, so again, I thank you for being here with us today on the Vital Spot. I hope you learned something, and when all else fails, put up a terrace. All right, have a great day, guys. Thanks for learning. Bye.